Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Creative Quick Builds. Last episode we worked on that town hall over there, and this episode I'd like to do something a little more organic, and I found this clearing in the dark oak woods, and I think I want to build sort of a fantasy grotto sort of thing, with lots of custom mushrooms and terrain. So, let's get started by preparing the landscape. Now that I've flattened the terrain and made it a little more usable, I want to start by laying out the area of pathways and rocks, because I want to make this sort of, well, like a miniature town as well as a bit of a mess of organics. So like there'll be little mushroom houses perhaps, as well as just regular mushrooms acting as maybe shade platforms, and then of course custom trees. But right now I want to start with the path, so I'm going to do a rough layout and come back then. So, as you can see, I've created the paths here, and I've decided to expand the pond a little bit, just to give it a little bit of differentiation. So next step is detailing the path, and I'm also going to add some rocks, maybe there and there where the forks are, just to give the path a reason to split. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to quickly add those quick things, and yeah. One thing I like to keep in mind when I make the paths is to never do ultimate straight bits, because when you do super straight bits, you end up with something that looks not well worn down and not natural. It just looks like a man-made line, right? You want to make it look like it's been worn down with use, not with manufacturing. So that's what I'm trying to do here, and that's why you won't really see any straight paths lying around in this particular build. So I've beefed up the pathway and added a few rocks. The rocks do look a little bit out of place right now as they're just standing on their own, but don't worry, once the build is finished they will fit right in. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of detail on the rocks. That's because, well, I have the full creative inventory, so I may as well take advantage of it. That's what I recommend to all players, is to take advantage of every material you have. Even if you think it might not work, it probably will, because, I mean, this is colorful once you first get it, but if you place a living one on the ground, if I can find it in the creative inventory here, let's use this as an example, it's the same sort of thing, it will die within a few seconds, so it'll turn gray and it'll look like rocks, basically. So, I mean, you could add these dead ones to your rock formation and make it a little bit even more detailed. And I could do that in the future. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's just an idea. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to add some plants around and possibly a few small houses, and then after that, I will work on the larger plants. Well, as you can see here, I started with the smaller plants, with these medium-sized trees, but then I realized it would probably be more appropriate to begin with the wall. So I've made an outline with cobblestone, and I've used strip spruce pillars in order to make it slightly different than the trunks of the trees, because they'll appear quite a lot elsewhere. So I just wanted to make it a little more, I wanted to make it stand out a little more. So I'm going to build up the wall now before I do any more plants. I think I'm going to make it out of wood from here on, but we'll see. It might change. I just want to see how it looks. Alright. So yeah, I'll get to that, and I'll come back once I've progressed. Well, I've decided to forego the idea of a wooden wall in favor of messy cobblestone. I think messy cobblestone is more appropriate than just a straight-up wood wall. I tried making out of wood. It didn't look good. I didn't think it would be worthwhile to show it in the video, so you have this. What I want to do now is I want to finish the trees, and then work on some of the bigger plants. I think I'm going to incorporate a few larger mushrooms, some brown and some red, like I have in my recent video on how to build houses. I built a mushroom house there, so I'm going to try to replicate the mushrooms used in that house kind of around this area, as well as scattering a couple of these further around. So I'm going to start with the big mushrooms and come back to you once I have a few set out. I built some mushrooms, and I am not happy with them one bit. I just don't think they fit in, and when flying up here you can see they stand out quite badly. Now that might just be a matter of nothing else in the build being detailed too much, but I'm not entirely sure. So, what I'm going to do is try to finish everything else. You can see I've also torn out the mushroom house. I'm going to replace it with something a little less bright, but I'm going to detail everything else before coming back to them. Either I'll demolish them or rebuild them or perhaps keep them. So I'm just going to start by putting leaves everywhere and just kind of sprucing up the greenery a bit. I've taken some time to sit back and brainstorm, and I've come up with this community layout. I think it's pretty good. You can see I've actually made completely new houses. All the houses will have a similar design. They might be different heights, but they'll all be a clay-bodied dark oak roof design. I think this design really fits well because it is fairly simple in comparison with all the complex organics going on, but I think it contrasts quite nicely and fits in very easily because of its size. I think I'm keeping the mushrooms. I'm starting to warm up to them, so I'm not going to take them out yet. I still might take them out in the future after I build the houses, but for now I'm just going to build around them and see if I like them or not. So yeah, let me finish a few more houses and I'll come back to you with some more progress. So I've prepared all the houses and I think it looks pretty cool. And as you can see here, I've got another mushroom stem going on. I'm going to make one more brown mushroom just to kind of complete the area. I really like the way these are placed actually now. I've grown quite used to them and I quite enjoy them. I'm going to fix the color on that. I'm going to add some flowers and more leaves and then we're pretty much done. Alright, I'm super happy with the level of detail I was able to put in. As you can see, there are no spots uncovered with something. Everything is filled in with at least a piece of grass. Now there is one more thing I'd like to do, and that is lighting. Because right now, if I change it tonight, this thing would be completely unlit. So I want to do something a little more magical for that. I want to make floating lights, and you'll see that in a second. So here are my ideas for floating lights. I just wanted to make something really simple, but sort of magical feeling, like I said. I'm not too sure between these two. This one's more pleasing to look at, but it's also more complex, and I don't want to take away from the complexity of everything else. Actually, another idea you could do is that... No, I don't like that. So I'm going to experiment placing both of them in this setting, and I'll come back once I've picked my favorite. There we go, that just completes it. You can see I've placed all the lights, and I've gone for the first design, the simpler one. I liked it a lot better. I didn't see the need to make it any more complicated than, well, it needed to be, where in this case it completes the immersion just as well. So let's start a little bit of a tour in F1 mode. You can see it's very... I love this. This is probably one of the more immersive things I've ever built. You just walk through and have a little wander around town. Of course, there's nothing really in the houses. That would be up to the occupants, which there are none, so the houses are empty. I've also made a little bit of a meeting area. Let's just cut across the pathway here. Underneath the red mushroom, since it's kind of unique, I thought this could be like a little town center meeting area sort of thing. So yeah, I'm super happy with this. Ooh, actually, I need to detail the lake. Okay, I'll do that real quick and I'll come back with a better look. Lake detailing complete, and you can see I've just carved it out a little bit, and if you look closely, I've added, what's this called? Coarse dirt throughout, as well as removed the grass. Now, it might not look very different, but I guarantee if you put the two lakes before and after beside each other, you'll see that it does indeed make a difference. You just don't really comprehend it unless you have the worse option beside it. So, what I want to do now, actually, is take a tour of this area in the nighttime to have the absolute full immersion. So I'll just quickly switch it to night in 3, 2, 1. Nighttime. Okay, let's go exploring in this village. Like I said before, it's one of the more immersive builds I've done, and I'm super happy with the way it turned out. Obviously, it isn't very applicable for any survival worlds because of the shadows. Mobs will easily spawn. There's no really easy way to prevent mob spawning, unfortunately, in this situation, when you're trying to use light as a decorative part of the build instead of something practical. But that's a sacrifice we have to make, and I have mob spawning in this world, off in this world, so it doesn't really matter. I'm super happy with the immersion. I already said that. Silly me. So yeah, I think, well, there's no really easy way to build in this style. It's more of just trial and error, like I've been trying to say throughout the episode. So if you have something you're not really sure about, take a while to contemplate it before ripping it out right away, like I did with the mushrooms. And always, don't be afraid to try things over and over again in different ways and explore different pathways instead of going for the first option that slightly catches your eye. And always be patient. Patience is a big thing when building in this style. I know I'm not very patient. I have to force myself to slow down and think about things for a little bit because it's not, well, uniform like most other things. It's well, random and natural, and it takes a while and takes a lot of observation to perfect. So yeah, I hope you took away good things from this. My name is Kian. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.